Sengu is a lonely, struggling screenwriter. He's unemployed, has no friends, and his parents are gone. But his biggest problem is something deeper. He hasn't been able to sleep properly for over 6 months. Every time he tries, a dark figure appears in his dreams and turns them into terrifying nightmares. Tonight, Sengu dreams he's on a subway. The figure appears, grabs him by the hair, creates a hole in the floor, and shoves his head into it. The impact ends the dream. He wakes up right after the moment of death and decides to write something to distract himself. But just then, his landlord knocks, claiming he brought food. Sengu escapes through the window. He has no money to pay rent. As he walks through the city streets, he remembers all the experts he sought help from: therapists, doctors, researchers, spiritual leaders. Each had a theory, but no real solution. He stops at a food stall and orders a simple crepe, requesting no egg because that's all he can afford. The vendor kindly adds one for free. While waiting for his food, Sengu watches the cafe across the street. A girl he has admired for years works there. He first saw her at a bar performing with a band. Her voice left a lasting impression. When the crepe is ready, he sits down to eat, only to be interrupted by Sun, his manager. Panicked, Sengu runs and drops the food, too weak to get far. Sun catches him and takes him to a restaurant, eating in front of him while criticizing him for not finishing his script. Sengu tries to explain that he can't focus due to his sleep issues, but Sun is unsympathetic and demands the script in 10 days. Returning to his apartment, Sengu finds his belongings in the hallway. He's been evicted. With nowhere to go, he visits a cafe to write, but hunger overwhelms him and he falls asleep. The dark figure appears again, chains him by the neck, and slams his head into the table. He wakes once more, shaken and now missing his laptop, his only writing tool. Blurred between dreams and reality, Sengu sends a message to Sun, saying he wants to reunite with his parents. He heads to a nearby rooftop to jump, watching the girl at the cafe one last time. Before he can act, the crepe vendor appears and offers him more food, speaking calmly about different beliefs around dreams and life's end. He suggests that next time Sengu has one of these dreams, he should try saying to himself, "I'm dreaming." Sengu stays on the rooftop until nightfall. He then sells his phone to buy food. At a convenience store, he briefly considers stealing, but stops when he notices he's being watched. After buying a few things, he eats outside, only to be startled when the girl from the cafe appears, showing concern. It feels too perfect, and it is. She turns into the dark figure, slamming him against the glass for others to see, mimicking a panic episode. The figure stabs him with a sword and throws him through the window. As Sengu flies through the glass in both the dream and reality, he remembers the vendor's advice. He says, "I'm dreaming," and wakes up mid-fall, unharmed, but holding the sword in real life. He escapes before an ambulance arrives and spends the night in a park, studying the sword and confirming he's awake. In the morning, he visits a flea market to sell it, but a buyer's excitement tips him off. It's worth more than he thought. At a proper pawn shop, he gets $20,000 for it. Sengu immediately upgrades his life. He buys a new computer, eats at an upscale restaurant, and checks into a luxury hotel. That night, he takes sleeping pills and returns to his dream. This time, the setting matches the hotel. He picks up a vase and repeats, "I'm dreaming," but nothing changes. Suddenly, the figure appears again, this time with a golden axe. It injures Sengu, but he manages to grab the weapon and say the phrase again. He wakes up, axe in hand, injury-free. He sells the axe too and splurges again, new clothes, a car, and a night out. At the hotel, he gives his companions money for a ride home, but chooses to sleep alone. Before sleeping, he looks at images of a famous museum. The trick works. His dream takes place there. He explores, admiring the relics, and waits. When the figure appears with a weapon, Sengu runs. Eventually, he's caught and killed, but he wakes up and immediately takes another pill. Back in the dream, he dodges more attacks and successfully grabs 2 antiques before waking. He sells them for $2 million, raising suspicion, but avoids serious questions. Soon after, Sun, shocked to see him alive, finds Sengu. Over dinner, Sun returns the advance payment, claiming he no longer wants the script. The next day, Sengu visits the cafe, orders a latte, and asks the girl if she remembers him. She doesn't. He asks why she's selling the cafe. She says it's losing money. That night, Sengu drinks with Sun, who's curious about his sudden success. Back at the hotel, Sun pretends to leave but sneaks back in to search Sengu's wallet. He's caught when Sengu wakes up holding golden chains. Realizing the truth, Sun begs to become his partner. Sengu considers it. The next day, Sengu buys the cafe and tells the girl she can still manage it. He'll cover the losses and they'll split any profits. Grateful, she invites him to dinner. During their conversation, she suspects Sengu might want more than just a business deal. From then on, Sengu continues his dream quests while Sun watches over him. In one dream, he robs a bank, now fully mastering his control, telekinesis and all. He brings back larger items, like a red car. Business booms. The cafe is packed with people Senga paid to visit. He also leaves a generous gift for the crepe vendor who once gave him food. One evening, after closing, Senga walks with the girl. She guesses he's a screenwriter. They begin spending more time together. One night, he lets her drive the dream car he gifted her. She assumes he's a well-known writer. Senga remembers how he first saw her crying after a show. He followed her to the movies more than once. In the present, he takes her to a movie, and she asks when she'll see one written by him. Not wanting to lie, Senga writes a real script and gives it to Sun while he sleeps. That night, dreaming of the girl, he wakes quickly. He had imagined multiple versions of her. Upon waking, he finds Sun deeply moved by the script. Their final plan begins to take shape. They sell the story to a production company. A production company decides to invest their own money to hire major stars and create a massive hit. To celebrate the launch, they host a special dinner event. Sanu brings Ruer as his date. During the evening, there's even a special presentation glorifying Sanu's career, entirely fabricated. It claims he's written many successful films but always stayed in the shadows, preferring to travel and see the world. A few days later, during a dream, Sanu stumbles upon something strange, the body of a meditating monk. When he tries to take the monk's belt, his hand disintegrates. Still determined, he waits for his hand to regenerate and tries again. This time, the monk moves to touch his chest with two smoky fingers. Sanu isn't alarmed. The usual ominous figure doesn't appear, and both the monk and the treasure vanish into dust. One evening, Sanu takes Ruer to the rooftop where he once contemplated ending his life. There, he surprises her with a fireworks display just for her. When she asks if he'll vanish like he appeared, he promises never to leave. Later, they go to her apartment. While Ruer is in the bathroom, Sanu practices a heartfelt confession, but something strikes his chest. Looking in the mirror, he sees two dark marks on his skin. Back at his place, he ignores the wild party his friend Sun is throwing and heads straight to bed. Sun prepares to harvest the night's treasure, but Sanu tells him it won't be necessary. He'll sleep alone. In his dreams, Sanu finds himself in a tall, empty building. A mysterious figure waits on the balcony. As he approaches, he realizes it's an older version of himself, now crumbling away. When he wakes, a scar appears on his shoulder. More scars show up over time, each one matching wounds from previous dreams. The next morning, Sanu goes to see the crepe vendor for guidance. But before he can reach him, a van pulls up and kidnaps him. When the blindfold is removed, he finds himself in an abandoned building surrounded by a gang led by Kong. Sanu offers to pay, and they settle on 10 million. He calls Sun to bring the money. When Sun arrives, the gang takes both the money and Sun as leverage. With no options left, Sanu brings them all to his apartment. There, he shows them a secret room filled with rare items. Kong pressures him to reveal how he acquired them. Just then, Ruer arrives at the building. The receptionist informs Sanu through the intercom, and he abruptly breaks up with her to keep her away. But she notices the apartment door is open and decides to go up. As soon as she steps out of the elevator, a thug grabs her and takes her to the same room. Kong begins taunting Ruer, trying to shake her emotionally. One of the thugs, upset by the escalating violence, protests. As punishment, Kong puts on brass knuckles and assaults him. Meanwhile, Sun begins to wake up. When Kong turns his attention back to Ruer, she kicks him. Sun uses the distraction to fight off his captor. Sanu bites his guard and escapes, though he's stabbed in the process. The three attempt to flee. Kong, furious, shoots the thug he had beaten. Due to his injuries, Sanu struggles to move. On the stairs, they are caught again. Another thug stabs Sanu. Sun sacrifices himself, holding off the attackers while Sanu and Ruer escape. Sun is ultimately overwhelmed and killed. A thug catches up with Sanu and Ruer, beating them both. Even after Sanu stabs the man with a dagger, it isn't enough. Both pass out from the assault. Sanu then finds himself in a strange ruin, covered in black residue that vanishes as he moves. He touches a glowing doorway and begins to see visions, moments from his life, both real and imagined. He sees a version of himself being taken away in an ambulance on the night of a store incident. After the vision ends, he reaches a massive glass wall and repeatedly strikes it while shouting, "I'm dreaming," until he collapses from blood loss. Suddenly, his body begins to change. A machete forms in his hand, and he realizes he's turning into the demon. He smashes the glass wall. The scene shifts to Sun's apartment, where the demon appears, fully awakened. It quickly eliminates all the thugs, using strange weapons when needed. Then, it turns toward Sanu. As it moves to finish him, Sanu mutters, "I'm dreaming," and all the antiques he brought back from the dreams begin to vanish, both in his apartment and in collectors' homes. Sanu passes out again. When he wakes up, he finds himself once again outside the convenience store, on the night everything began. Ruer sees him, recognizes him from her concert, and brings him to her home for real food. While he eats, she tells him she read a story of his in a magazine and found it compelling, though she believes he just needs a little luck. She offers him a job at her cafe. Sanu breaks down in tears. It turns out Ruer had known he'd been watching her all along. Later, while working at the cafe, Ruer gives Sanu a gift, a new laptop so he can keep writing. Eventually, Sanu meets Sun at a restaurant to return the money. He explains he can't work for hire anymore. He only wants to write from the heart. Sun not only refuses the money, but gives him even more, having successfully sold one of Sanu's old scripts. This time, it's Sanu who pays the bill. Sometime later, now at peace with his life, Sanu returns to the crepe vendor. The vendor returns his earlier payment and shows a scar on his stomach, revealing that he too once had the same gift. He learned that a simple life was the better choice. As they talk, the ruins from Sanu's final dream appear behind him, signaling that the new demon who eliminated the thugs has been quietly following him ever since he reappeared outside the convenience store.